Good everyone. I hope you guys have an amazing day. So, in the last episode, I've defined or I explained emission source and energy use for stationary asset, right? And then I've also talked about how we can, calculate emissions in the net zero cloud, right? Okay, that's great. That's fantastic. Now, what we're going to do in this episode, it's going to be very tiny, maybe 2, 3 minutes episode, but just wanted to make you guys understand the concept, right? Why it's important. That what we're going to do, we're going to look at rolling up the emission data, what we from the stationary asset to a carbon footprint record. Okay, so which is at at the end of the day, that's the main goal, right? Just to calculate the carbon footprint. Now, the important thing you have to remember that you can attach, multiple stationary asset energy use record to the stationary asset carbon footprint. So when I talk about footprint, right, I'm actually talking about stationary asset carbon footprint. So I go here, right, under the tactile icon. So you get this, right? So I'm gonna look at a few of the stuff, right? Not much. So you can create it by going to new, right? And then what do? You attach, you give a name, and you attach the stationary asset source, previous year annual carbon footprint if you want. Uh, so the stage, you're gonna look at the emission, or there are different stage footprint strategy. Are you doing a data collection, or you doing um, emission source confirmation, or you're doing internal audit, or you're doing external audit. For now, don't worry about it. Just and data gap status, so we can fill either of this option. Allocation status, which is select the allocation status of the renewable energy for this carbon footprint. Audit approval status, and reporting detail, building stuff. We're gonna look at it, right? So I just cancel this. What I do, just to give you a realistic approach to idea, I'll look at existing record, because when you look for when you get a trial for net zero cloud, right, you get a lot of you know data which is being supplied to you by Salesforce. So I'm gonna look at one of them just to give you a realistic idea. So let's look at this one, right? So now when you look at this one, you got a lot of options here. Okay. Now, one thing I just wanted to um, uh, mention that only that you can manually attach your uh, what's that called, asset to your carbon footprint, or it will automatically allocate it. But just remember one thing: only the record which you create, or which has at least a view all access, will be automatically rolled up to the carbon footprint record, right? And which that you create. Otherwise, if someone else created, right, that will not be rolled up. So just remember for that. I mean, I'll cover in detail. Just for now, just an information, just to keep into mind. Okay, we got a lot of information here, right? We got general information where I did mention I can provide the stationary asset. So if I look at it here, um, just right. This is just if you remember, this is the same thing I cover, right? Day before yesterday. So I don't really want to get into the details anymore again. So so I've attached this stuff here, okay? And the footprint stage, right? You got different stages here. So I just put the emission source, right? And this is the data count, right? Um, then we have the building details. So you can, so this is the building details, right? So it's pretty much the same, right? You can fill in the information. You can fill in the, uh, yeah. So then you have the greenhouse emission stuff, right? Which is here, which is often talks in terms of metric tons of carbon dioxide, right? It usually talks about scope one, scope two, and scope three, right? It will get automatically calculated. So now you must be wondering how these things are calculated, right? Because I have no option to enter this information, right? Obviously. So these values, right, they're usually derived by summing up the values from the underlying energy use record. So when you attach a stationary asset to it, you will get all the items get attached, right? So yeah, I will explain that in just a second. Just for now, remember that these values are calculated by summing up the data from underlying energy use record. Okay. Then we have total energy use summary, right? So this is normally calculated in kWh, which is kilowatt hours, and it's also calculated in MWh, which is megawatt hours, and this is also get calculated in GJ, which is gigajoules, right? Um, yeah, that's the measuring stuff. I'm not gonna get into the physics of it, but just remember that these are the two things. I do understand that climate change topic is interesting, right? That's why I often say when people make so many claims about climate change, I my first question to them: Are you a climate scientist? Right? Do you have right credentials? Right? Do you have right education to even talk about it? Right? That's why I listen to people who are qualified climate scientists. Right? Yes, it's great to learn. You can become a climate scientist if that's what you're aspiring to, but from a Salesforce perspective, right, most of the business owners, they may not have much understanding, right? You can hire a consultant to do that. Some of the business, they do hire climate scientists as a consultants to help them understand this information, right? So that could be a possibility. Now, in my case, right, I do a lot of research on my side, right? I'm not a qualified climate scientist, right? I don't have right credentials to be qualified as a climate scientist, but lately I've been spending a lot of time reading a different research paper, studying the impact, trying to understand what the carbon tax will do, try to understand different renewable source of energy, countries that implemented carbon tax, like for instance Sweden, they already have this policy since 1991, and Denmark as well. And then British Columbia in 2008, they started the program of carbon tax and how it, really helped lowering the greenhouse emission gas. So a lot of things you can read when you have time if you're interested, right? Because for me, I don't see this as just as a tool to point and click, right? Or write a functionality. For me, this is a tool I can convince a business owner because I'm a business owner, I'm a founder. So I convince if I can convince myself to use this technology, right, I can convince another business user to use it. And some of the terms are really confusing for me. It's overwhelming for me. Like I don't know how this get calculated right behind the scene, but most of the stuff you don't have to worry about it. You just attach this stuff. For instance, you attach this asset, and yeah, it does the calculation for you behind the scenes. So most of the things Net Zero Cloud has done that for you. So you don't really have to worry. Then you have renewable energy details based on the allocation status of the carbon footprint, right? You can pretty much see the total renewable energy generated, both in kilowatt hours as well as the percentage of overall electricity consumed. That's what it's supposed to mean, right? Okay. Then you have grid mix information and location base, right? Energy use intensity. This is pretty simple, right? I mean, if you look at it, it just um, to, gives you an idea about total regional electricity consumption intensity and also the percentage difference between regional intensity and the intensity of associated carbon footprint items for electricity consumption. So yeah, then we have data quality metrics. So if you wanted to view if you wanted to see the monthly average electricity consumption and energy uh, consumption intensities for the current and previous year, you can pretty much use this. You can see that information from here, right? Then we have if you go to the related items, right, you will see it's a footprint items, right? So this will pretty much give you an idea about the stationary asset carbon footprint items for a carbon footprint contains data for individual fuel type. You wanted to, it's like, you can attach, stationary asset record to the carbon footprint, but that will come with, individual footprint. Sorry, that will come with individual record based on the fuel type, right? As you can see here, you have how many records we have? So you got three records, right? When you attach that stationary asset main record, so it will, so these three records will be linked as well, and these are based on the fuel type. So here we have three fuel type: electricity, refrigerant, and cooling. Okay. So and now this will roll up, and so now you remember I talked about the sum of the values when we talked about how those figures are calculated, right? Emissions. So it comes from rolling up the value from here. So that's in a nutshell, right? So basically, if you look at it, say for instance, Inspirate the solution, we have one company, right? And I could have, um, different fuel type, right? Electricity, diesel, cooling, as you can see, right? And all of this will roll up to an asset record, right? And that asset record you attach to your carbon footprint, okay? So what we try to do is we try to calculate the total footprint for the entire company, okay? So Net Zero Cloud will give you an option to do so in simple terms, right? Okay. So, so yeah, that's something I wanted to cover. Then you can also use your data centers as an asset source. Usually, most of the companies, small to mid firms, like I don't have a data center. Maybe in the old times, right? Some of the IT companies used to maintain data centers. They might still do. I'm not sure, but most of them have migrated to cloud. But some of them they use both, right? Cloud and in-house. So you can also use the data center as an asset source. So it works a little bit different, right? Because the data centers are considered very special case in net zero cloud because of the way total electricity usage in the facility is estimated from non-electricity consumption of the IT equipment. It's a little bit different, right? So you can configure the record type for the asset, and information can be captured for the data center, similar to your to the buildings, right? That's why you see. Remember, if you remember, wait a second, stationary. If you look at it, where is it? So if I go here, just copy this one. So you see, we got two record types, right? So this is already created for you, but just in case if you don't see it, you can do that for the data center, right? If you do that here, and you just fill in the information here, right? So yeah, so you can do that using stationary asset. So like I said, right, my company, we don't do anything with the data center, so we're just a small company. For now, it's small. It will grow eventually, hopefully. So yeah, so one of the reasons why I really got excited about the net zero cloud, because it's not just because I wanted to teach someone. That's a secondary requirement for me, but just to make sure that how we can leverage this cloud for our business. Okay. And while figuring it out, I thought I might as well teach this information to other people. As you can see, some of the informations are not very clear. Some of them is confusing. If you're a founder following, if you're following along with me, if you're a business owner, some of the stuff, right? I do appreciate that it sounds might sound like a jargon, but at the same time, it's important to read from a different source, right? Because you can, like I said, kilowatt hours, gigajoules, that kind of stuff, right? These are physics, high school physics, right? So you can read it if you have forgotten about it. You can, go and always Google it. Now we have YouTube, so you can get a lot of information on YouTube, right? So, and one thing, I was talking to one of my mate, right? This is an interesting discussion. Just the reason why I'll tell you why I wanted to tell this in a second. So, I was discussing about net zero because, like I said, right? If you remember, I mentioned that based on ANZ survey, we got like 1% adoption rate for Salesforce net zero. That's a great opportunity, I would say. I mean, you must be wondering how? Just 1%. Because most of the companies are keen to move to net zero cloud, and some of them are struggling. They don't know where to look. They don't know where to start. So there are lots of potential opportunity for this cloud to squeeze in, right? Yes, there might be a different technology. I'm not sure about the Microsoft Dynamics, Microsoft CRM, what they're up to, or SAP, what they're trying to do, right? But from a Salesforce perspective, right, I think that this tool has a great potential, right? Though there are licenses, it could be a bit expensive, but if you're a big firm, right, you can always consider, looking at net zero cloud. Even if you're a small firm, I would highly, if you're really, if you can't find a solution to achieve net zero, right, what I would suggest, reach out to Salesforce, talk to the account manager, and see, what he can come up with, right? I'm not getting paid from Salesforce to do this video, right? So I'm just promoting it because as a business owner, I think this tool is valuable, right? So that's the reason why I'm doing it. It's not because Salesforce has reached out to me, hey, can you market it, right? Because I don't take money to market stuff, right? I don't care about that, right? I don't do this for money because if you know that most of the course I used to do for free, right? If I really cared about money, um, yeah, that's why I've been told off by my investor that I should not be doing it. This is not a philanthropy, right? I didn't start Inspirate Solution as a philanthropy. I have started Protect Planet Foundation. That is a philanthropy. We're actually looking to do very very high cutting edge stuff. Conscious AI, sentient AI. The reason why I wanted to pursue that path because we have a big fight coming. That's a fight from a nature to the human race. And unfortunately, I just hate to break it out that with our current level of consciousness, we cannot fight it. So need to build something, right? A conscious-based AI. It's difficult. When the ChatGPT was, at its first stage, ChatGPT got $1 billion funding from Elon Musk, right? They started as a non-profit. I don't know what happened. So maybe that's why Elon Musk got pissed because they took the money, built it. Now they wanted to make profitable. I exactly want to tell the same to Elon Musk. Give me that amount of money. I will build. I mean, not me. I mean, I'll build a team to build conscious AI. Build a team of neuroscientists, deep learning engineers, nanotech researchers, right? Climate scientists, material engineers. We'll build all this team, right? And we will build a conscious AI. And we'll wanted to make it. And obviously, we won't give access to everyone because the reason why we're using only for climate change, don't want it to use for anything else. So that's something I'm working on my skill, right? So eventually, we'll see how it goes because, as I said, one of the things my grandmother used to say, one of the core pillar of Jewish faith is philanthropy, right? And I'm just wanted to do that, with full dedication. So that's exactly what I'm trying to do. So that being said, right? This is if you find this the topic confusing, right? Net zero cloud. Um, I would suggest two things. Okay, first, go to Trailhead, see if you can make sense out of it. If not, um, go to Google, type. Okay, I'll show you how to do that. Okay, just go to google.com, right? Or if you have DuckDuckGo, whatever, right? Just type net zero cloud Salesforce. Okay, white paper if you can find it, right? I always look for white paper. If you can't, again, cloud overview. I think this will give you. Okay, this will give you an idea about what net zero cloud is about, and watch demo, get the data set, data sheet, kind of stuff, right? I would highly encourage you to start with here and because yeah, and you know, you can also do the trailhead questions, right? But just remember this, right? Don't do this for the sake of certification, right? For goodness sake. I mean, I'm just do it for the sake of helping a business, because I've seen there's a massive trend. Okay, one more thing. I create a blog today. This one. Uh, Read this, right? I'll put the link in the description below. Read this if you get a chance. I mentioned whether you should be chasing. Come on, man. Should be chasing the Salesforce for the sake of credentials, because I've been very disappointed, right? I tell you the reason why I've been very disappointed. Okay, anyway, let's make this video longer. If you don't want to hear, you can drop off, right? But if you wanted to stay along and hear what I wanted to say, it's going to be available for you. So, but by all means, if you think it's not available, you're most welcome to cut the video. I can go and do something else, right? So, I've been in certification business, right? I teach people to get certified. It doesn't matter. Most of my courses are free, but I aim to get people certified in the right way. Okay, which is great, fantastic. I think the right thing to do. Now, I've seen people, lots of people, taking architect-based certification. Like I know somebody who took a sharing certified, and it couldn't answer a damn simple question on sharing, and the kind of questions sometimes a person asks. Oh no, that person does not work with me, but I know that person. So I don't mention anything about people who works with me. So I'm just talking about general interaction with different group of people I do. Like I attend user groups, sometimes I mentor people, sometimes you know, but I'd never mention anything about the people who work for me, because it's total disrespect to talk anything about them, because the people who work with me, I have high respect for them. But I just wanted to talk about general, uh, you know, someone, uh, whose name I will never mention, but just from a example perspective, right? So that person, let's say the person name is T600, like let's call it as a Terminator 600, just to make it fun. So that person took, so that person credentials, right? That person took sharing visibility, integration architect, deployment uh, one, identity management, like application architect and system architect. The person cannot write a single piece of code. Person don't understand what the identity is, right? Can't even create a damn login flows. Don't know what jet handler means, right? Just in time. Uh, so don't know how the SAML works. Don't know how to do. Uh, have no idea about sharing sets. Have no idea about granular logging. Don't understand how the role setup works. I don't have much idea about deferred sharing. Have no freaking clue about territory-based management. And then this person is application and system certified. And this has raised a serious ethical question for me, because people getting certified using DOMS, right? I'd be very honest with you. If someone comes and works for me, right? Okay, I mean that person certified using DOMS. Okay, I mean I give the benefit of doubt for, maybe you can say, all right, I wanted to do something, but if that person cannot do the job, I'll be honest with you, I'll fire that person from the job, because I often tell people business is not for charity, right? Business is to make profit. If you wanted to do charity, to go and do philanthropy, even in the philanthropy, in the non-profit space, people will not hire you to work for them if you don't have any idea. I mean, at least in my philanthropy, I won't hire people just for the sake of it, right? But even for my Protect Planet Foundation, I don't want volunteers in my team who does not know how what they're doing, right? So, because just because something is free doesn't mean that you have to. Um, and there are genuine people, right, who are extremely knowledgeable, but yet fail to get an opportunity to find a job. This is what really amazes me, right? So I would give opportunity to an intern from a uni has a right attitude, who don't know much Salesforce but willing to learn. I will take a bet on that person rather than someone who used deep fake, or what's the term you call dumps, right? Yeah, whatever that, the fake questions, whatever that stuff is, they used to get certified, right? I honestly won't, because the reason why, and if you're a business owner, you shouldn't either, because first of all, your reputation is at stake. If that person messes up a design or stuff at a client place, your reputation will come into question. We will ask, client will question you, right? About your hiring process, and you might even get fined, right? If, for instance, if you're dealing with the GDPR data, if a person exposes that information for whatever reason, right? You as a company will get fined. It's your reputation loss, right? Okay, I understand the money losses can be daunting for, but if once your reputation is out, then it's very hard to get it back, right? So that's one of the reasons why I do not take chance on these people, right? I don't care how rude it sounds, but if a person is not doing ethical stuff, it's not going to work for me. Simple as that. I will fire that person next day, because a lack of integrity, lack of ethics is a big no for me. I Because even in my real life, right, I tell to I have a best mate, right? I used to tell him, right, the day I figure out if you're doing something unethical, I got nothing to do with you, even though we've been friends for like 30 years of a life. So that's how integrity and ethics matters to me, right? I said the same to my father once, right? If you're ever gonna do the shady stuff, consider we're done for life. So I use that principle in life, right? I teach the same principle to my daughters. So so that's one of the reasons why I wrote a blog. I said, hey, certification is great. I openly say, go and get certified, right? Do certified. It teaches you different things every time you want to get certified. That's great. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem to me is that you taking certification one after another, but without understanding absolutely anything about the system, no real hands-on experience, and using the dumps and try to expect that some company will hire you as an architect and making a mockery of the entire system. I have a serious problem with that, right? Because I'm a man of ethics. I absolutely will rubbish that stuff. And, like for instance, I interview people, and my interview is always very tough. People who are interviewed, they know that I don't I mean business when it comes to interview. I ask pretty straightforward questions. Either you know it or no. It's a pretty black and white stuff for me. I don't want, oh, I've been doing this. I like to the point answers, right? If you can't, you go and work for somewhere else. So, right? I mean, it's not because, I'm very harsh, but I just want this ecosystem to be clean, right? As you can see, I'm extremely passionate about it. So yeah, if you stay along with me till now to hear my rant, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, because I wanted to make it clear, right? So if you have time, just go and read it, right? Um, so like for instance, let me explain to you. I hate this ads. I mean, I was not even looking to uh, go for the Google ads. I made it. Oh, it was good to have your page will be indexed, and I said, all right, I'll go and get it. So now this is nuisance. It's annoying this rubbish coming on the side. I hate it. I probably do something about it next time. Anyways, sorry, I digress. Okay, so benefit of getting certified, types of certification, functional versus technical, time frame for architecture certification, right? I clearly mentioned how long it normally takes, right? 3 to 5 years, I said. Um, Real implementation versus getting certified, Salesforce certification turning to be number game, right? And then should companies push for certification? I did explain the pros and cons. I do understand why some companies want their staff to get certified. It makes sense, right? Because they might want to get new projects. So from that perspective, yes, it makes sense. But that doesn't mean that you should be pushing someone, right? Hey, get it certified. Well, if someone says to you, I don't have experience much, I can't do certification on architecture, the company shouldn't be pushing them for that, right? So, and then pressure of getting certified user Salesforce dump. I clearly mentioned that. Value of investment, right? I clearly encourage people to get certified, right? If you read about my blog, just don't hammer me, please, but just saying, oh, okay, this guy is anti, certification. I am not. If that's the case, I wouldn't be teaching this course to begin with, right? I want people to get certified, but do it in the right way. That's what I'm trying to say, right? Just don't hear information from here, information from B, and fill your own stuff and say, "Hi, this is the information uh, message I got." No, no, that's the wrong way to do it. Just read the full message you get, right? Don't like in like if you ever studied DNA, right? So DNA gets replicated to RNA, RNA get replicated to proteins, right? So whenever there's a DNA copy happens, right, some genes get mutated. That's what the evolution happened, right? Otherwise, we would have been still bacteria if there was no gene mutation. Is one of the reasons why we humans exist. Otherwise, if there was no mutation, then we would be still bacteria. So there are. I'm just like giving an example, right? Um, so yeah, that's all I wanted to cover. Thank you.